And we're in. Now to interact with this screen, we just have to plug in the NVR mouse. This is most likely going to come with your NVR, but you can also use pretty much any USB mouse that you have on hand. It's going to bring you through a whole startup wizard depending on your brand of recorder, but this is going to be different for each manufacturer, so I'm just going to skip this wizard for now. And here we are in our main screen. There is one thing I want to do here, and that is adjust our network settings. So go into your menu and find your network settings. Again, this menu is going to look different depending on the brand of NVR that you have. And the feature that we're going to be looking for here is DHCP. What this feature is going to do is allow your internet router to automatically assign your NVR an IP address. And that is what we want. So if DHCP is not enabled, go ahead and enable that. So now you'll see that these IP settings have been grayed out. It's not going to let me edit them because it is pulling that automatically from the router. Again, this is a good thing because one, it's going to make sure that our IP address is compatible with our network. And two, it's going to make sure that this IP address is unique. Your router is not going to hand out an IP address that's being used by another device. So we know that this is a good IP address. But as long as DHCP is activated, it could change this IP address at any given moment. So after your router assigns the NVR its own unique IP address, we're going to turn off DHCP. By turning that off, it's going to ensure that 192.168.1.13 is always going to be this NVR's IP address unless I come in here and manually change it. So we are free to write down this IP address and keep it handy in case we ever need to log into our NVR from a computer connected to the same network. We can log directly in and edit all of these settings from a web browser. So just to sum all that up, log into your NVR, open up the network settings, make sure that DHCP is enabled. If it's not enabled, enable it. Then once your router assigns an IP address for your NVR, go ahead and disable DHCP so that you can write down your IP address and always have it handy. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get our cameras installed on this NVR. So let's talk about what an IP camera is. So unlike an analog camera, which takes raw video data and sends it to a DVR, an IP camera does all the processing right inside the camera itself. So as soon as this thing is connected to power, it's going to start streaming video. The way we access that video is through the network. That's why it's called IP, or Internet Protocol. If we have a device on the same network as this camera, say an NVR, then we'll be able to access this camera, access its feeds, manage all the settings, record footage from this camera. Now, the cool thing about IP systems is that this camera can be connected to power and to the network with just one Ethernet cable. If I take this Ethernet cable here and plug it in, and then take the other end of this cable and plug it into a PoE switch, this camera will be connected both to power and to the network. Now let's talk about this NVR. Again, this NVR does have a PoE switch in the back. If your NVR does not have a PoE switch, you might want to go ahead and skip forward to this timestamp right here. That's where we'll talk about setting this up with an external PoE switch. But for now, we're going to focus on this NVR. When I connect a camera to the back of this NVR with an Ethernet cable, the power from the NVR is going to power that camera, and it's also going to put that camera on this segregated network right here, so that any device connected here to this switch is going to be on the same network. Let's take this a step further. Since our cameras and our recorder are both from the same brand, in this case Uniview, they are going to be able to communicate seamlessly, and the NVR is going to be able to pull that camera feed in right away. This is called plug and play. And again, it really only works if the camera and the NVR are from the same manufacturer. By default, this NVR is going to be looking for Uniview cameras that are on this segregated network. So once it finds one, it's going to automatically pull everything in. Let me show you how that works. I got my camera here plugged into this Ethernet cable. Now let's plug it into this PoE switch, and we can see the IR lights came on the camera. That means it is booting up. Now let's take a look at this monitor. And there we go. Once the camera boots up, the video feeds are pulled in automatically. This is what's called plug and play. And if I take my mouse
अरे नुआ
and
प्रोटीन
go
କାମ
into
ଅଧିକ
the
ତ
menu
ଶକ୍ତି
here,
ବି ଅଧିକ
and
ଲାଗିବ।
if we come in here to the camera menu,
ମୋ
you
ଶକ୍ତି
can see
ତ
that the protocol
ତୁମେ
is plug and play.
ନୂଆ ପ୍ରୋଟିନ୍ X ଏବେ
Now I'm just
କ୍ଲିନିକାଲି
going to do
ପ୍ରୁଭ୍
this same
ଏହା ଦିଏ
process
30% ରୁ
for
ଅଧିକ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରେନ୍ଥ
the other three
ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରିଏଣ୍ଟସ୍
cameras.
ଯାହା ମସଲ୍ସ ଆଉ
And
ବୋନ୍ସର
just
ଶକ୍ତି
like that,
ବଢାଇବାରେ
my
ସାହାଯ୍ୟ
4
କରେ
camera system
ଶକ୍ତି ପାଇଁ
is up
ନୂଆ
and
ପ୍ରୋଟିନ୍
running.
X
Now there's a few things I need to
सब्सक्राइब
point
करें
out
हमारे
about this
चैनल
system
जनरल
right
टेक को
here.
और बेल
First,
आइकन को
you need to know that the
दबाइए
NVR
ताकि
is the
लेटेस्ट
only
वीडियोस आप
device
सबसे
connected to
पहले
my
देख
main
पाए।
network. The
नमस्कार दोस्तों,
cameras are
स्वागत
all
है आप
on
सभी
their
का
own
जनरल
separate
टेक पर और
network
मैं हूं आपका होस्ट
managed by the NVR's PoE switch. This is good for you because all of the bandwidth used by the cameras to send data to the NVR is confined to this segregated network. It's not going to interfere with your computers, your laptops, your phones, or anything else you have connected to your main
सब्सक्राइब करें
network.
हमारे चैनल
However, the
जनरल
drawback
टेक
of
को
this system is that you can't manage these cameras individually without going through your NVR. So this could make troubleshooting your video surveillance system kind of a pain, but I think the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks here. This is such an easy way to get up and running with your security cameras. So if you do have a PoE switch in the back of your NVR, I highly recommend using plug and play to set up.
चार्जिंग की दुनिया में नेक्स्ट रेवोल्यूशन आ गया है।
Infinix Note 30 5G 15,000 के नीचे आपको देता है
ऑल राउंड फास्ट चार्ज टेक्नोलॉजी, बाईपास चार्ज